So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm giving my review of Black Mirror Season 6. But before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, that if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello there to my viewers, but you prefer to listen to podcasts, well, you can with this one at Night of the Movies on Spotify. And if you are already listening on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on these podcasts if you enjoy them, and leave some feedback on things to improve on with future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on. Also, I should say, and people have been following my podcast lately will have a good guess as to what I'm going to say here. Yes, it is still the ongoing saga of hay fever. I first spoke about my problems with hay fever in my podcast on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Great film, by the way. And those problems have continued. Although my hay fever isn't as bad today, I'm recording this podcast in the morning just because of the way the day has worked out for me. And often in the morning is when my hay fever is at its worst. So if I'm sniffling, if I was podcast, I do apologise. If I sound a bit bummed up in this podcast, I do apologise. And if I'm just not on top form, it's because I've got hay fever, and it does make you feel a bit under the weather. But other than that, this should be a very fun podcast to listen to and or watch. So let's get into it. Black Mirror Season 6. So here's the thing with Black Mirror for me. I watched the first two seasons about 5 years ago now, and I really liked them. But I stopped watching the show for a while after. I watched the Christmas episode, titled White Christmas, and I fell in love with that episode. But then after watching that episode about 5 Christmases ago, I stopped watching the show, just for a while, just because I wanted to watch other things, movies and other TV shows and whatnot. So yeah, I'd stopped watching Black Mirror for a while before watching this new season. But over the past 5 years, I had rewatched the Christmas episode of Black Mirror, titled White Christmas, about 3 times, and each time I watch the episode, I'm blown away by it. It's like I watched it for the first time. It's such an amazing piece of TV. But I had no plans to watch this new season of Black Mirror whatsoever, hence why I'm reviewing it quite late on this channel. But then I heard loads of people talking about this series, loads of people going on about 3 episodes in particular, and those 3 episodes were Joan Is Awful, Loch Henry, and Beyond the Sea. So I was like, okay, let's see what all the fuss is about. I might not watch the entirety of Season 6 of Black Mirror, but I'm going to watch at least the 3 episodes that everybody's raving about. So I watched those 3 episodes, and I ended up watching the entirety of Black Mirror Season 6, though, because there was only, 2 other episodes that were on there that I didn't really hear many people talking about, but that I was going to check out anyway, because why not? And ultimately, I think Black Mirror Season 6, as a whole, is part excellent, part absolutely ridiculous. The excellent episodes, in my opinion, are Joan Is Awful, Loch Henry, and it's not an excellent episode, but it is a good episode. I enjoyed watching this episode, Demon 79, which is the last episode of the series, where, it's all about the end of the world, and a guy comes down, a devil dressed as Boney M. One of the members out of Boney M, I don't really know Boney M that well, but you get the impression it's one of the members of Boney M. That episode I didn't think was excellent, but I thought it was enjoyable to watch. Beyond the Sea, I found tedious, and it felt like it forgot about... it felt like it ran out storylines halfway through the episode, to the point that I really, really struggled with that one. The opening, the first 10 minutes or so of Beyond the Sea, I thought was really interesting. Then it just kind of fizzled out, and then you get on to Maisie Day, which was the other episode of Black Mirror Season 6. There's only 5 episodes, in this season. But Maisie Day started off as quite an interesting look as to what it's like to be part of the paparazzi. What it's like to be a member of the paparazzi. But then, and spoiler here for people who haven't seen Black Mirror Season 6, just a little spoiler warning, but, it's it's been out for, what, a couple of weeks now, so, it's your own fault if you haven't seen it yet. Halfway through that episode, Maisie Day, it turns out that this actress which the paparazzi have been stalking is a werewolf. It turns into the Howling. I was sitting there gobsmacked as to the twist. Like, really? I was quite interested in the story you're telling about the paparazzi, because I don't know what that would really be like, and you're showing quite an interesting side to it. It's a way to earn a living for these people, but then it's just become this werewolf story. It was so ridiculous, and Beyond the Sea really tested my patience as well, and I don't know why everyone was raving about that episode. I really struggled with it, and it's not to say that those episodes didn't have perks, and I liked the actors in those episodes as well. Like, Aaron Paul is in Beyond the Sea, and Aaron Paul's a great actor, and Zazie Beetz is in the episode Maisie Day, and she's one of the actors. Whenever she pops up in something right now, I always enjoy her performance, and so the performances aren't bad in those episodes. Kate Mara is in Beyond the Sea. But at the same time, those episodes really frustrated me, and God, I really hated the episode Maisie Day, because it started off really well. I was really, really interested. I found this to be a very fascinating look at the paparazzi. Then it turns into the Howling, this silly werewolf thing, the silly werewolf story. That's what it turned into. And Beyond the Sea, it started off really well, like really, really well, and then just fizzled out, and I didn't care. It felt like the people behind that episode, the people making that episode, got bored of what they were making halfway through production on that episode. That's what it felt like. But that's the thing with Black Mirror, because it's an anthology series, because it's a series where you can just jump in at any time. Each episode, its own entity, it's its own thing. You can watch, like I've done, you can watch series 1 and 2 of Black Mirror, not watch series 3, 4 and 5, and then jump back into season 6, and you're not lost, because there's no one continuing story. Each episode is its own story, it's its own thing, it's its own entity, as I've already mentioned. So that's one of the great things about Black Mirror, and it's also one of the reasons that you're going to get some great episodes, some absolutely brilliant episodes, and you're going to get some rubbish episodes, as I already mentioned. Some episodes of the series which are just absolutely ridiculous, as I've already said. That episode Maisie Day, which if you haven't guessed already, really, really annoyed me. But like I've already mentioned, you get some amazing episodes though, and you get episodes like Joan Is Awful, Loch Henry, I almost got the name of it then, Loch Henry, and Demon 79, which I didn't think was brilliant, but I enjoyed Demon 79 because, I don't know, it's just something fun and entertaining to watch in that episode. Just the relationship and the chemistry between the main two characters in that episode, I thought worked really well, and it also proposed some interesting ethical questions. Would you kill somebody if you knew they were a terrible person, but only you knew that? Only you knew they were doing terrible things. Would you kill them, or would you let them live? That, I thought, was a really interesting ethical question. And he proposed that sort of question quite a lot in that episode, although there was some really dodgy CGI in the episode, and it was one of those things where I think the idea was quite fun and quite interesting and quite unique, but then by the end of the episode, I feel that they kind of got away from the main idea, and it just, I don't know, it became a bit too silly. But I enjoyed watching Demon 79, I liked that episode. But the two episodes for me, which were standout of the season of Black Mirror, were Joan Is Awful and Loch Henry. Joan Is Awful I absolutely adored, because it was exciting to watch, it was thrilling to watch, and it was scary to watch. Joan Is Awful is one of those episodes that I can see, it's one of those stories I can see happening in real life within the next 10 years. It's eerily accurate as to what I think, it's where I think the world is going with streaming services. I genuinely think that could happen, and I was watching it, and I was so just amazed by the episode and how eerily accurate it felt. about the way the world is becoming so alienated, you know. It was just, yeah, that episode really blew me away. I mean, there was one story beat in that episode which I wasn't too fond of. You see one of the main characters have a poo in a church, and I was like, is that really needed? I understand why she did it, but I didn't really feel that it was needed in the episode, you know. But the rest of the episode I thought was so smart, so clever, so on point, and eerily accurate to where I think the world is going. Maybe not within the next 10 years even, maybe within the next 5 years. It's scary. And I also loved how that episode made fun of Netflix as well, even though Black Mirror is a Netflix show and Netflix produced that episode. They were the production company behind that episode of Black Mirror, and yet that episode, Joan Is Awful, makes fun of Netflix. It shows you the dark side of Netflix and where it's going. It's genius. I loved that episode. Loved it. And I also loved the episode Loch Henry because it was a fake true crime story. That's what I really loved about it. It felt real, but in the end, it was fake. It was just a fictional story, as far as I'm aware. I think it is anyway. That's what I've gathered from my findings. You know, I was looking up about this episode last night. You know, that episode is a fake true crime story, and that's one of the things I really loved about it, because it felt real and it felt like you were. I love episodes and those sort of stories where, you know, you hear about this murder that happened 30 or 40 years ago, and they thought they solved the case, but 30 or 40 years later, they go back to the case and they realise that it wasn't how it seemed. There was something else there. I don't know what it is, but I get really interested in those sort of stories where you thought the case was closed and it turned out it wasn't. There was far more to it that you're finding out at this point, though. You're joining the characters in the present in the story, and they're finding out more about the case. If you've seen the episode, you know what I mean. You know, and I found that episode to be kind of terrifying to watch. I mean, not kind of terrifying, actually. Very terrifying. I got more frightened watching that episode of Black Mirror, watching the Loch Henry episode of Black Mirror, than I have with most horror films over the past couple of years, and with most other horror-type TV shows. You know, I don't usually get scared by things. It's just the way it works. I don't get scared by jump scares that much, and I don't really get scared by horror movies, especially recently. But that episode of Loch Henry really terrified me. The episode Loch Henry, yeah, I was kind of shook up by that episode. I watched it just before I went to bed as well, which was not the best idea because that episode felt so real. And yeah, the verisimilitude in that episode, if that word is, look it up, but the verisimilitude in that episode of Black Mirror was on another level. And I loved how that episode ended as well, how they make this sort of fake Netflix documentary about the fake true crime story, and then it ends up winning awards, it ends up winning BAFTAs, and then because it wins awards, they're going to make a drama about it. And, you know, it's just so clever and so on point and so accurate. And those 3 episodes of Black Mirror, mainly Joan Is Awful and Loch Henry, although a bit of Demon 79 as well, you know, those 3 episodes remind me of why I liked Black Mirror so much. And then the episodes Maisie Day and Beyond the Sea reminded me of why I stopped watching Black Mirror for a little bit, because I do think the novelty starts to fade away when you watch more than 3 episodes of this show. Because, like I said before, I don't watch the show properly. I mean, I rewatched the Christmas episode quite a few times, but I haven't rewatched the show properly in about 5 years when I sat down to watch Black Mirror Season 6 about a week ago now. And so, when I was watching these episodes, when I sat down to watch the first episode of Black Mirror Season 6, I did, and the first episode I started with was Joan Is Awful, which I'm pretty sure is episode 1 of Season 6 of Black Mirror, so that makes sense there. You know, when I sat down to watch the episode Joan Is Awful, my mind was blown by it because that novelty was back. I was like, oh yeah, it's Black Mirror, it's going to be all twisty, you're not going to see where it's coming, it's eerily accurate to where the world's going, it's that sort of stuff. You know, that's one of the things which really made me click with Black Mirror in the first place, you know, watching those episodes about 5 years ago and going, wow, this is so different than anything I've seen before. And that's what happened again when I watched Season 6. But then, by the time I got to the Maisie Day episode, which was the last episode, pardon me, that I watched of Black Mirror Season 6, I started to really, I don't know, I think the novelty was gone. The surprise element was gone. You know what I mean? I got to the episode May Day, and although it started off well, I think one of the reasons I really took a disliking to that episode was because I kind of had enough of Black Mirror. I think I'd had enough of Black Mirror by the time I got to the Amazing Day episode, because that was the last episode I watched this series. So, yeah, I'm gonna put the show on the back burner again for a little bit. I'm still glad I watched this latest season of Black Mirror, but I won't be watching it again anytime soon. And actually, I might rewatch some of the episodes, but I'm not gonna, watch any of the episodes that I missed from any of the previous seasons anytime soon. Like, I won't watch any episodes from season 3 to season 5 because I want to stay away from the show for a bit. So I can return to it in like a year's time and it'll be new and fresh to me. You know what I mean? It'll be like, oh God, I forgot what Black Mirror is like. And this is so cool and so unique and everything. Whilst right now, I feel like I've had enough Black Mirror. I've only seen 5 episodes of the latest season, but I just feel like I've had enough of it because it doesn't feel unique at the moment. And I've got a feeling that if I give it a year, it will do. But I did really love 2 episodes of this season of Black Mirror, and I thought 1 episode was really enjoyable to watch, and I thought that 2 episodes weren't so good though, and actually there was 1 episode in particular which I really, really disliked. So, overall, as I've already mentioned, I think this season of Black Mirror is part excellent, part absolutely ridiculous. And overall, I'm going to say that this season of Black Mirror is a 7 out of 10. Now, if I was to rate the episodes in this season of Black Mirror individually, Joan Is Awful would be an 8.8 out of 10 for me. Loch Henry would be a 9.3 out of 10. Demon 79 would be a 7.5 out of 10. Beyond the Sea would be a 5 out of 10. And Maisie Day would probably be about a 3.5 out of 10. But if I'm ranking the show overall, if I'm ranking this season of Black Mirror overall, I'm just going to say it's a 7 out of 10 because I do think, it's one of those shows which is, it's a bit difficult to rank overall, really. What you're going to do is rank it individually, rank the episodes individually because they are their own entities. And so that's what I just did there, to point out that there are some really, really fantastic episodes in the series, but there's also some naff ones as well. More than naff, some pretty bad episodes, or pretty disappointing. Like, the Beyond the Sea episode was a pretty disappointing one for me, even though it had this quite absorbing idea to start off with. I really struggled with it by the end, And that episode was only like an hour and 15 minutes, and it felt 2 hours for me, So, what you got to think about Black Mirror is that just because I'm giving this season a 7 out of 10 doesn't mean I think it's just a good season of Black Mirror. I think the goods outweigh the bads of this series, and ultimately I am super happy that I checked out Black Mirror again with this show, because the episode Joan Is Awful blew me away. The episode Loch Henry was on another level for me, and Demon 79 I had a great time watching. And although I didn't like Beyond the Sea, and although I hated the episode Maisie Day, in the end, I would still recommend people check out at least the episodes that I liked of this season of Black Mirror. You might like the episodes that I didn't like, and if you do, that's great. It's all subjective, but yeah, I don't know what I think of that werewolf twist. What was that all about? It just became The Howling, and I don't like The Howling. And if you don't know what that film is, it's a werewolf movie from 1985 that's by Joe Dante, or started to Gremlins, and the movie is so stupid. It has one good scene in it when somebody transforms into a werewolf. Other than that, that film is awful. Awful dialogue, awful characters, awful, awful, awful movie with one good scene, and that's what the episode Maisie Day turned into. But I've been rambling on way too much already. You get the point. There's 3 episodes of the series which I'm a big fan of, and there's 2 episodes which I'm not too big of a fan of. But if you do feel like watching Black Mirror season 6 and you haven't checked it out already, I would recommend the episode Joan Is Awful. Especially Joan Is Awful, because I think you'll find that episode eerily accurate. Also, I'd recommend the episode Loch Henry. And if you want to have a bit of a entertaining, if you want to have a you want to stick on an episode of Black Mirror that you could watch on, say, a Friday or Saturday night, I'd say Demon 79, you know. But I wouldn't recommend the other 2 episodes. But that's just me. And overall, as I've already mentioned, this season of Black Mirror Season 6, it is, in my opinion, part excellent, part absolutely ridiculous. And that's why I'm going to say that this season is a 7 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for this podcast for today. Let me know your thoughts on Black Mirror Season 6 in the comments section below, and whether you liked the episodes that I liked, or maybe you disliked the episodes that I liked, and actually you liked the episodes that I disliked. You know, let me know your thoughts on Black Mirror Season 6 in the comment section below. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on this podcast. And look forward to many more podcasts coming very soon on this channel. Thank you guys for watching or listening, and I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.